I'd like to call the committee of the whole meeting order on Tuesday, May 9th, 2023 at 5:15 p.m. This is being held at council chambers temporarily located at 38 King George Street, Lake Cowichan, BC, and transmitted electronically. I would like to acknowledge we are gathering on the traditional unceded territory of the Spots First Nations where we live, work, and play. And if anyone has any questions on any agenda items, you can email at general@lakecowichan.ca. Again, at general@lakecowichan.ca. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Any introduction of late items? Councilor Officer.
I just have one for notice of motion for July 1st celebration.
Any other? Okay. Minutes of the April 11th, 2023 meeting. Were there any issues arising, as this is just for information?
You just want to adopt the agenda.
Oh, sorry. Could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as Councilor Austin, Councilor Bomacra? All in favor? Carried. So next, business arising, traffic study for Uptown, including Point Ideal Drive.
I can speak to that. We're just still working on it. Still early in the budget process, so some budgets to get going with that.
Okay. Mayor McGonigal?
For you, if I may, once those RFPs are out and considered, should there be a need for additional funding, that will come back for further discussion at the meeting.
Well, the coach will come back to you and then you make
We can
the
decide at that time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
There's no delegations or presentations, correspondence, for information on consent items about community meeting regarding the proposed quarry. Fernandez.
Yeah, that's, I mean, just for information, as you've indicated, it was a topic that was approached by council and the Suboxone Nation. And not sure if there's anything further to add to that.
Any other questions or comments? So just to receive
file.
Yeah.
procedure file. Okay. Yeah. Under reports, finance administration, strategic planning. Next is the director of finance financial report for the period ending April 30th, 2023. Ms. Gill.
Thank you, Councilor Sandu. The statements are there. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. The 2023 budget numbers as presented are the preliminary numbers. They agree to the 5-year plan that was just approved. M&P has audited the financial statements for 2022, and again this year we've received a clean audit opinion. The audit statements will be included in the annual report. I'll be starting work on that soon, and I'd welcome any input or pictures council may wish to include. When the 5-year plan is approved, which it is now in the annual rate, we'll start working on the 2023 property tax notices. So we've received a late submission for grant aid, and that was from the Cowichan Arts Cultural Society. They're requesting a grant aid of $3,000 for the summer outdoor concert series. And that's in addition to the in-kind assistance the town already provides, like the use of park space and hydro or electricity. So they presented the budget and the profit and loss as was required. The estimated costs of the concert are $8,573. They have a grant, the society has a grant from CBRD, and the funds that they raised last year totaling $55,000 or $5,573. So there's a shortfall of the 3 that they're requesting. And their funds remaining in the grant aid are $1,800, or if you want to give $500 to the LCS grad class, as is normally done later in the year, $1,300. So that's a decision for council, and a recommendation, my motion would be needed.
So any comments? Mayor McGonigal?
If you are to consider that, I would have to declare a conflict of interest, as I have been approached by the organizers for participating in summer event, and will not be making a decision on that if I'm having some funds for my band that I'm in through that society. So if you're going to do that, please give me a heads up and I will declare that.
Yeah, it's up.
I would like to declare a conflict of interest, like pecuniary conflict of interest, as I would be making a decision on funds that would go towards the summer program, which my band would be funding. And I will exit the building.
Thank you, Mayor McGonigal. So any further discussion?
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we give them some funds towards this. It is a positive thing for our community. 1,300, you say, is left? Is that correct?
That would be after.
After the 500 is school.
Why don't we, I would like to make a motion that we give $1,000 then to the College and Lake Arts Council and for the summer music event.
Do I have a seconder? Second,
Yes? Second.
any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Does that work?
Yeah, 2 against.
Okay,
Are you opposed? Nope.
So that's like, unanimous.
So carry, so $1,000.
so that still leaves some for emergency.
So that has to be approved. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, to regular meeting. Okay. We can get Mr. Give that.
That was it for my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions through the info?
It's a pretty early one, so I think we'll wait for the finalization and the numbers coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the Lake Halgen Building Inspection Report for April 2023. Mayor McGonigal?
Just for information, so we'll receive that.
I just want to make an observation. Councilor Romero?
Yeah, I just want to make an observation. 38 renovations. For CAO.
38?
Yeah, 38
No.
was previous year.
Those were previous.
How many years do you go back as?
We just go back to last year. And anything that's outstanding, if there's
Yeah.
still stuff that's not complete, it put in the next one. Usually.
Okay, it just seemed like a large amount.
Yeah, well,
Still
people have
sitting.
started and not done anything.
I was wondering if maybe more people were renovating because of the cost of building. And that's why it
The
was.
building
so high.
permit, if they've started the job, it's good for 2 years.
A lot of decks and garages. Yeah, there. Okay.
Thank you. The next item is the Lake Halgen Fire Department Incident Report for March 2023. Any questions? Mayor McGonigal?
I would like to move that pay the amount of $7,298.73 for the March 2023 Lake Halgen Fire Department.
Do I have a seconder? Councilor Bomaka? Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Next item is municipal hall update, April 2023. Mr. Fernandez.
Yeah, this, I think at the last meeting that council had indicated that they wanted to see the change orders listing. So I think that's the main thrust of this, and the stage at which the building is been completed thus far. We have to work with Ellis Shaw Security Company and the computer hardware firm to come back and make sure that they had all those items addressed, and that took a bit of effort on our part. The contractor was not willing to do that because he doesn't really know who we deal with. So that process has been completed. So it's a matter of knowing when we can move in.
So this is just for information. Okay. Any questions, through to our CAO? Next item is Director of Finance, our COVID restart plan. Regarding the Sabat. First Nations request.
So the report is there, what the uses are of the COVID-19 restart grant funding. 70% of these funds have been spent to date. And we anticipate on spending the balance of the funds in 2023.
Mayor McGonigal?
Through you, if I may, we did broach this subject last night at the community meeting. Just stating the limitations within municipalities to afford funds to other levels of government under section 24 and section 94 of the community charter. We would have to go out to public with 2 papers to inform them that we would be providing that funding to that. We are looking at other options within the Cowichan Valley Regional District function of economic development, whether or not that can be allocated towards this area in that manner. So there are some limitations municipally that do not allow you just to hand funds over to other levels of government, similar to the other 2 electoral areas who have been asked. They were looking for another option to sort of try to find some funds to allocate towards that position.
Any other questions? Councilor Bonacca, can you tell us how much is left in that fund?
It's 260,000 or something like that. It was covered up in the audit.
Okay. Next item is our local authority emergency operations center guidelines.
You mean the local emergency plan?
Yes, sorry, the local emergency.
Yeah, so I think this has been raised a couple of times in terms of where we're at. And I think what I can do is I can provide you copies of a report that was generated back in 2021. So you can have an idea of what the communities and neighborhoods we're looking at. This was presented to council back in the outline. And there were 3 stages that we were looking at. And the current stage, it's basically each community has to deal with the emergency plan itself. We're moving towards where the CBRD would be taking care of it. If you take a look at the last drawing, the drawing at the back, and the CBRD is actually going to be taking charge of either drawing where it's option 1, 2, and 3. We've all opted for option 3, regionalized model. But in the process, we're working through a blended model that should probably take a bit of time before we get to option 3. So that's where we're working at. And as we speak, we are having almost monthly meetings. All the communities are meeting on a regular basis, figure out just process.
Mayor McGonigal?
For you, if I may, and through the discussion, there was a need for local autonomy in different entities as well, alongside the regional approach. The regional approach is more for the organizational portion. And when we look at what Lake Cowichan may have different needs than Couch and Bay, for instance, we won't have tsunamis up here, I hope. If we do, we're all in trouble. But ours would be interface fires. Surrounding the force, and Couch and Bay would not have that. So that local portion is focused in the local emergency operation, but would be organized through the regional emergency plan as well. So that discussion has taken place at the board table. Still in the implementation stage and the organizational stage. And when the time comes for it to roll out, I think we should be looking at perhaps reorganizing the local group that was within that with the volunteers. Having them to the tabletop at some point once that's rolled out. So we can ask for interest at that time, moving forward for our local needs within our own emergency operations.
And just one other thing, emergencies arrive. The example is COVID-19. It was not considered an emergency issue previously. Now the group does deal with pandemic. So we face climate change. Example, emergency that's coming up.
I was gonna put my hand up. I was one of the ones that I kept asking this question. And this is the big report, so it's a lot to absorb. And it's 567 pages. So what I'm thinking is, if we could have this on our committee of the whole agenda, and then just kind of highlight each month a specific emergency that would impact our community, and what is in place if we are on our own, possibly for up to 7 days, depending on what the emergency is, and what the steps are for our community. So if we just focused on, in this report, certain sections that would definitely impact our community, and then just go over each meeting.
Yeah, if I may, the CBRD has agreed to come here, so they can actually, they would be better placed to deal with that issue. Because I mean, they're in the business of dealing with emergency. So the sections that you want dealt with, you just bring them in. Because they're, you know, they're
And with that premise, we would have the information of what is available to us for structured trailers, for instance. They are allocated to locations to the regional districts should we need them. And what the inventory of usable apparatus is within that emergency regional operations center. The tabletop exercise with CBRD, especially on something like an interface fire, would probably be appropriate for our area. And I would suggest that that may be the first avenue that we look at. Inviting this driver up or whoever within the emergency operations, just to go through what the inventory is, how it's allocated, and how you go about utilizing. There are a number of communities that are asking for that, so I don't see that as a problem, including us within that tabletop.
And just through to our CAO, if we did this on a monthly basis and just kind of highlighted what our concerns are, you're our emergency coordinator, then we could have them come in once we're done this exercise. And then if we have questions pertaining to certain sections, then they're here for one meeting that we could actually have something in place that we could directly ask. Does that sound?
that sounds reasonable. So you want to go through sections each time?
That would impact us specifically.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilor Smith, did you?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Next one is Director of Finance, Chamber of Commerce membership.
Thank you, Councilor. So, I've outlined my decisions on why I think that we had a membership with the Chamber of Commerce up until 2014. We haven't since then. And, you know, business as usual here. I don't know that we really fit the criteria. We don't have a business interest, so, but it is up to council if they want a membership in the Chamber of Commerce.
Questions, Councillor Olson?
Oh, you go first.
No, it'll be a long one, so I'll let you go first.
Oh, mine might be on. I can't support this myself, but and we do have two members on our council that are already chamber members. I just don't think it's something that the taxpayers should be paying for a membership in a private organization. We don't belong to the Legion or the Elks or all the other people that promote our community as well. So I would not support this.
That wasn't long.
Councillor Wilmette.
Okay, so sorry, I had brought it up because Councillor Frisbee and myself, both being chamber members, attended two different chamber functions. The last one that I did attend, there was CBRD Director Morrison, CBRD Director Karen Deck, and also Alistair McGregor, that are all at the chamber. And unfortunately, I didn't know that Mayor McGonigal had been invited and was not in attendance. When I was recognized as a councillor by the town of Lake Cowichan, I felt awkward in that we are not a member and we have been previously. So that's why I brought it forward and asked that we reconsider the $90 membership. And so I'd just like to speak on our Director of Finance's report. While chambers of commerce do not directly influence political outcomes, they may try to influence or lobby local community leaders to pro-business stances. I myself cannot be influenced. The next one, the town of Lake Cowichan is not a business, but a local government that is responsible to all residents within its jurisdiction, just not the business community. And so when I went on, I think Councillor Frisbee went on and got to Duncan Chamber of Commerce. They are a member of the chamber, so is North Cowichan. So is the town of Ladysmith, the district of Saanich, the Capital Regional District, the township of Esquimalt, the district of Oak Bay, the city of Paulwood, the town of View Royal, city of Victoria has been a member since 1863. City of Langford, the district of Souk, school district 79, Cowichan Lake Recreation, Service Canada, Nanaimo Airport Authority, Government House, Malahat Nation, Songhees First Nations, Subosset Nation and their CATSA Adventures, the BC Lottery Commission, Sheila Malcolmson, MLA, Doug Routley, MLA, Vancouver Island Regional Library, and Lisa Marie Barron, MP, and that's just within the first half hour. They all have chamber memberships. And so the other part is there's no benefit to the town of Lake Cowichan to have chamber membership, and there is no value to be received by the taxpayers of Lake Cowichan for this expenditure of taxpayer dollars. While the chamber community benefits are school bursaries, Cowichan Lake Ambassador bursaries, summer student job creation, community events such as the Santa Parade, the Lake Days Parade, Heritage Day Parades, which is next weekend, if anybody, I think it's next weekend. They support purchasing from local businesses that provide jobs in the community, as well as promoting local events for residents to attend. So I'm going to get a little bit pissy here. By comparison, the town has the Flex Center that also provides summer student jobs and also supports buying from local business and services. And what benefits are made to the taxpayers and at what cost? $90 versus. So in response, yes, I think that there is a benefit to a $90 chamber membership. Off my soapbox, as Mayor McGonigal would say. Thank you.
Mayor McGonigal.
Through you, I will not kick your soapbox and make you fall on the floor. This subject came up at the all candidates meeting, and at that time, I was quite clear that my position was that the town is in the delivery of service. And as such, our job is to make policy and bylaws that encourage business opportunities. The chamber's responsibility is to encourage business participation business growth and business retention through our collaborative approach in the silos that we reside, I think is the role that we should be playing. I understand that other communities do belong to chambers, and that is totally the intent of that body to make that decision. While we do appreciate the value of the chamber, we also value the service that we deliver to our residents. I would not be in favor at this time. What I would like to do is reach out and have a meeting with the chamber and discuss how we move forward in the collaborative way that I spoke of. Us with our roles and responsibilities where they reside. But at that time, there will be an opportunity to broach that question on membership at a later date. At this current time, we could not support that.
I just had a question. So you, Ms. Gill, you said that we used to pay a membership up until 2/14. Was there a reason we stopped paying, doing the membership?
I think it was about that time where new decisions were coming down for local government, where liaisons to other organizations was considered possibly conflict of interest. So all those things were removed, and this was one of the things that was also removed.
I have a comment because most of these memberships that were taken out were 2020, 2019, and 2021 of municipalities down in the Victorian area. So that's after 2014, but my understanding, and I could have heard it wrong, was that the reason that we stopped the chamber membership at that date was because the fee for service went from 10,000 to 15,000, and that we felt that giving them the 15,000, that's why the chamber membership was, that they had got enough money. Was that correct?
I believe it was.
Yeah, that was the reason.
So.
I just wanted to add one thing, the mayor had said as well, if I may, thank you. I was gonna say mayor. I do think we should have a meeting. We did try to have a meeting a few months ago, or last year, I guess it was, and we should have a meeting and discuss with them how to go forward into the future. I think we need to do that, and then we'll see what happens.
So the consensus of the table is to set up a meeting with the chamber. We determine and just discuss. Okay. Does that need to be a motion or?
No, we're just going to,
Okay. Any further?
I mean, you want to give us an idea of when you want to have that meeting. That'd be helpful.
I think we'll await Councillor Frisbee's return and see how we can allocate our time accordingly. We're all busy, and I'm sure they are as well. And we'll chat probably at Heritage Days.
Yes.
So maybe at our regular meeting, we can just give
Put down the
direction
agenda.
to staff to. Okay, thank you. Our next item is the relocation of older structures. Mr. Fernandez.
Yes, this was a topic that was discussed back in 2020. Nickel Brothers had a representative here at the time, and so it was basically the same argument was made at the last council meeting. At the last council meeting, and council wanted to report back to this committee. And so basically, what I've done here is regurgitated what I had indicated back in 2020.
Any questions or comments? Never gone
Through you, if I may, and I do recall this delegation came forward with the possibility, citing that Port Alberni allowed relocation of pre-1990 homes. We did have a report from WorkSafe at that time suggesting that would not be a good idea to move into relocating pre-1990 homes. The premise of affordability, as you have to do hazmat and upgrading of electrical, etc., I don't think bodes well for the affordability question. So at that time, we suggested that we not allow pre-1990s. And it was the endorsement of the body at that time. And I would say that I would be in favor of continuing on that policy. Post 1990, there is less of a chance of hazmat problems on the drywall, etc., asbestos tiles, linoleum tiles, etc. So I would be I'd be in favor of continuing the policy.
Councilor Bowman?
So recollection when they did come out as a delegation, Nichols Brothers, I thought that they had said that all buildings before they are purchased and moved had to have all of those hazards removed.
I don't recall that.
That they weren't allowed to sell it unless those were. Because I'm kind of torn in between, because what if it's a house that's 1989, 1 year away? And I think it was one of the counselors that had made a comment that everything has to be brought up to current code anyway, and it's no different than the double house, I guess you would call it, duplex that was purchased by the town. And it was renovated on Neva Road, and that was definitely pre-1990.
The town sold it
Yeah, and it was renovated, and it was pre-1990.
I can speak to that. There was a house existing in the town. It wasn't brought in. So this is issue we're dealing with is for relocation older homes into town. The existing, we found that we can do. They just have to follow some.
So I just had some questions, if I may. So currently, we're renovating the town office. And we obviously had to bring everything up to code. Our wiring, our plumbing, our heating, our asbestos. So that all had to be,
Extra cost.
yes. So who is overseeing that process during the renovation?
We had a
Was it our
company-
building inspector?
No, we had a company come in and
So there are engineers out there that do oversee this, that do bring all this up to code. Correct?
well, in our case, our building inspector was not involved in doing any inspections.
Yeah.
Because it's been contracted out.
Yeah.
Whereas in this case, any homes relocated here would it require to involve.
So if we do support this, can we not ask that an outside person who's qualified to oversee the remediation of these requirements?
I can't answer.
Or independent.
An independent. So, and then if we agree to this, can the town stipulate that all upgrades are done up to code?
Well, before you do that, you have to take the file.
Yes, yes. Mayor McGowan.
It's nice that we're not all in favor of everything all the time. This is a great conversation and it's a diverse opinion. When I look at, for instance, new developments throughout town, new developers trying to cut corners, et cetera, that would be my concern on the relocation as well. Regardless of the hazmat assessment or the hazmat remediation, there is a timeline to build in building permits. It's 2 years. And my concern would be relocation and long timeline to have that brought up to current regulations. Having the post 1990 gives you a little bit of clarity on the need for that hazmat remediation, that it wouldn't be as significant as a pre 1990. That is the premise where I reside within the current policy.
And if I may, so this would be at the cost to the homeowner. All of these costs, there would be no cost to the town of Lake Cowichan. And I understand, like, since with COVID, that the province was very clear with municipalities and regional districts about kind of looking outside the box of our buildings, our developments and whatnot. So to me, I think there's work to be done on this, but I'm in favor of going further in the discussion.
So if I may, Madam Chair, review perhaps the avenues of that is to bring bylaw back for reconsideration and discussion.
At our next,
Maybe the whole,
which would be in June.
Second motion?
Yes. So seconder.
With a comment. Go ahead. With the comment is that we've also, with the province, has been saying that we need more homes. So if the way that we can get more homes for people, this is a good thing. But, and I understand that it needs to be safe, meets all codes, and I'm assuming if it didn't meet all codes, then an occupancy permit would not be given to the owner, would it not?
Yeah, the only problem is it's already in town. So, you know, we've got an old building that doesn't meet code, but it's now located.
But most of the buildings in Lake Cowichan are probably pre that age too.
It's a decision you have.
Yeah, that we have to make. And do we have to change the whole bylaw or can they come for a variance?
So it has to.
Has to be the bylaw. Okay. Well, I would be interested.
Okay, so the motion is,
to bring the bylaw back consideration at the next meeting. Only.
any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, carried. Next item. Waiving of over usage charges.
Yeah, I've spoken to ad nauseam on this issue, so I'll leave it at that.
I said a comment, so under the policy, the pipe has to be, the line has to be from the building to
To the meeting.
the meter. So the bylaw is very, very clear on
policy.
the policy, I apologize. Mayor McGonigal.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the staff report and interpretation therein. By the correspondence received from the applicant for reconsideration and upon visitation to the property, it was quite apparent that there would be no way to determine where that leak was post remediation of property and the rebuilding of the home here. What I would suggest is that we, again, this bylaw, as suggested, could be re-looked at to identify whether or not it's just the service from the water meter. The premise on the implementation of water meters, that was conservation, was to deem the treated water of escaping within the properties. It was intended to penalize those who are consistent overusers of water on a consistent basis. I would like to see the bylaw brought back and look at the whole lines within the property, regardless of if it's from the service to the house or not. With the premise that we had discussions on implementing this, that was the whole intent, was conservation and saving our system from leakage. So on that premise, I will move that reconsideration of approval of forgiveness of this overage on the property
Right, a seconder?
with an amendment that the bylaw be brought back for reconsideration of the language within meter to service of the house.
Councilor Rolanda, any further discussion?
I just need clarity in terms of what that motion reads. Just actually.
That the overcharges be rescinded and that the bylaw be returned for consideration of amendments.
Any further, Councilor Rolanda and Councilor Austin?
Just clarity for me. I'm gonna go back and look at the bylaw, but. Or the policy, the policy on the, but can you go backwards? I think we had this discussion on something before.
Yeah.
The policy is going forward if we change it, but you can't make it
That's
retroactive.
right, yeah.
So
That is
what I-
clear.
Is that,
That is right.
if that's where I'm stuck when you reread that?
Absolutely. And if I may,
So
Madam
we can
Chair,
clarify that.
apologize for interjecting, but I recall the discussion at the table at the time with the idea of metering and conservation was, and I don't think that the intent was to penalize people who had it unforeseenly. So I think in hindsight, we may have erred on the caution of service to service instead of within the lot lines. So that is the only premise that I brought up.
Thank you.
Councilor Austin?
I understand that you're talking about just that one specific one. Is that correct, Mayor?
That property?
Yes,
Yes, we did receive the correspondence, if I may.
yes, I have. But I understood that they already had a forgiveness at one time, quite a few years ago.
I wasn't.
believe so. It's something to look into. anyway.
2017.
2017.
It's in my report.
It's in this report somewhere. I just can't find it right now.
Certainly,
I mean, I don't mind going back and looking at the policy for clarification, but, if someone had already had a forgiveness release, I can't see that we could do that again.
So I also had a comment and a question. We had actually asked at the last meeting that a report came from the foreman who attended the site.
And it's basically a summary. They didn't see the town being responsible in any way.
But I think we asked for something specifically from the
And I did,
foreman.
and I did. But it isn't fair to put that individual to the forum.
Well,
Attaching this report.
with all due no, but there should have been something at the table as staff was directed to do this. To help kind of bring all the information here tonight, so we could actually make a good decision on all the information. So I can't,
So basically, you're saying do not trust that to report back. I take offense at that.
well, I beg to differ that you were directed from council to ask the foreman who attended
Well, I
the
don't
site.
think, yeah, I don't think council directed. Just mention that.
No, you were directed by council. You were directed by council. So with not having that information, I would like, again, then we postpone this until we have all the information.
I will ask you to call the question, Madam Chair. It's been moved and seconded. I think this is going on. We'll abide by the rules of questions and changes.
So that the overcharges be rescinded and the bylaw be relooked at.
Policies.
Policy. All those in favor? Opposed? I'm in favor. So the motion carries. Our next item is under Public Works and Environmental Services, electric charging stations at Saywell Park.
I can speak to that. The superintendent and I met with BC Hydro virtually, that is. And they are looking at putting in 7 charging stations at a location, a public location in town. And by the time they had the smoke cleared, they suggested Saywell Park. The only issue with that is they want to free and clear access to Saywell Park 365 days of the year. So we couldn't close that portion because they looked at the property adjacent, the parking lot adjacent to the museum. And the superintendent and I had discussed that, and we didn't think that was feasible to not only take away some parking space, park away from the museum and from Saywell Park. So a suggestion, and superintendent suggested they put in a location outside by the info center, right? By the info center. And so there's a drawing there. So that's the second location that we think is best. And BC Hydro, because they'll have to do some work. They'll have to pave it. They'll have to lay it in the ground. They weren't in favor of it, but they are determined to put in charging stations here in town. So they have agreed to it, subject to council approval.
Mayor McGonigal.
Just for you, the one concern I had was the geothermal that supplies community services.
Yeah, I think,
I did discuss with the superintendent that position that is.
I think it's away from that.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, so that's
not
the
a
only
lot.
concern that I would forward to BC Hydro in their
Yeah.
implementation of this. I know there's gonna have to be some underground work for servicing for 3 days.
But I don't think it's where the
No, I think that's it, but just so they're aware that there is some infrastructure on there. I think this is a great option outside of the gated portion of Catsa Place. That would be shut down in numerous times during the year and not be afforded.
Yeah, and we're not taking away 7 spots.
Thank you.
Councilor Rebecca.
So, question. Who's paying for
There,
BC Hydro is? And are these going to be charge stations
Yeah.
that will be metered?
they will be needed, but we will not get any money.
Okay, and so the one that we already have existing is still a no fee. And what will happen to that charging
Well,
station?
we'll look at some changes.
Because obviously, if we're having one for free and then they're charging for the other 7 that are there, people will always use the
Well,
free one.
Those are fast charging.
Yeah,
4 of them will be fast charging, 3 would be slow.
and so option 1, follow-up. Option 1 has 4, option 2 went to 7. Was there a reason? Was it because of the location?
Oh, because of the
That-
location, yes,
that they went?
because we didn't want them to put 7 there. They would have taken away some.
So the next question would be, is there, do you feel, room in that space for the 7 versus 4?
Leave that to us.
Mayor McGonigal.
I'll let him answer.
So, for the site option 2 you're talking about, yeah, we have room there for 7.
And do you think it necessitates having that many there?
It's hydro, they feel the need is here. They're gonna put 4 fast chargers in and 2 slow chargers.
3.
Then we'll just probably to start with, we'll shut ours down until we can, have a meter, then we'll turn them back on.
Second question. So under option 2, the picture, how do they actually drive? Is that on the sidewalk along there, Point Ideal?
Have to go through Point Ideal.
So go through community services parking lot and then,
No,
No, directly.
right off Point Ideal Road, they'll have to redo the sidewalk and the curb there.
oh, okay.
One planter will get moved, the grass, they'll have to, they have to do some work there.
Okay, Mayor McGonigal.
Through you, if I may, with that chunk of property, I think that is a very respectable piece of property that should be allocated some funds for the placement of those hydro stations. It is currently a park with planting. if Hydro wants to place them there, I think there should be some remuneration taking the park.
We try.
I know, and that's in jest. If you'll note the ones that have been placed beside the co-op in Duncan, they are heavily utilized. There's only two there. One is 150 kilowatt inverter and the other is 50. The ones that say, well, they're currently in the free system, only charge at 48 kilometers per hour. These will charge at upwards of 140, 150 kilometers an hour. So the charge in itself will not be as long, and it will be paid through BC Hydro. So I believe it was a 10-year plan that they were looking for the placement of these. And at that time, we can have a renegotiation process. Whoever's at the table.
Councilor Rebecca. Just a comment, I guess, because now I'll put my business person's hat on and say, BC Hydro's coming in, they're putting everything in, but they're receiving everything, and other than people utilizing it, to which BC Hydro is getting all the funds. I'm sitting here as, what is the public getting out of it? The ones that don't use charging stations, they're giving up their parking pieces of their park. And I just feel that the community should be getting something out of this.
Yeah.
It's just good business, whether it's a percentage or something in lieu. That's just my personal feelings. I'm surprised the finance and Joe didn't jump on that and say, yeah, but I don't know, I'll just.
No, we tried hard on that and they just said, well, if they have to pay for it, they'll speak down. It cost them about $600,000 to put this in, so that's why they want a 10-year deal on.
So what was their reasoning coming here, or did we ask them?
No, well, we talked to them last year and then it went quiet and they came back. They feel the needs here. And I think the government is pushing to get the charging station.
Piggybacking on the business opportunity, I think what you're finding is British Columbia is leading in vehicle purchase in Canada. With the Pacific Marine Circle route, there's more opportunity for having people stop here while they're recharging and maybe visiting the local uptown business community as they go through their slow charge bill. I have utilized the BC Hydro ones myself throughout traveling. When I get weekends and holidays on the electric car, so I only get to charge. I have utilized the one that by the co-op in Duncan, in the street there, and they are there very fast.
Any more discussion? Okay, next item under new business is the protocol framework between Sabat First Nation, Town Lake Cowichan, and this Cowichan Valley Regional District.
Well, this was a discussion I was going to have with the administrator of the CBRD. I think the question raised was, should we do the protocol agreement separately rather than all of us together? And I think the mayor has some comments on that.
There we go.
I agree that there should be separate protocol agreements between First Nation that's contiguous to our municipality, and got more interactions, more opportunities for collaborative approach than the regional district per se. I would like to see the CBRD with a protocol agreement and the Town Lake Cowichan. That would be the avenue that I would choose. I believe there has been initial discussions between the administrators on that. I can broach that question tomorrow, should that be the desire of this table, and just point our view that we would like our protocol agreement to reside within our municipality and piggyback on the ones within the CBRD if something comes up within.
So does this need to be a motion then?
It would be helpful because I think that's what the CBRD is looking for. And our agreement that expired was one between just the town and.
Okay. I'll move that as Austin. that,
It will be our individual one, our separate agreement, separate, like, agreement on one.
a seconder? Yeah, Councilor Austin? Sorry.
One of us.
Or interchangeable.
Thank you, Councilor Maka. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, carried. Next item is notice of motion, Councilor Austin.
I just, for the next meeting, if we can bring up July 1st celebrations, please.
So at a regular council,
Yes.
you. It's a question period. So anyone off-site, they may email any questions pertaining to the agenda tonight at general@lakecouchen.ca. For in-person attendees, you have a maximum of 3 minutes, and you just have to state your name and where you, an address. And if you could stand. you can-
Can we just deal with that hydro thing, because I don't think it was.
Okay, so let's go back to the electric chain charging stations at Saywell Park. So we need a motion for either option 1 or 2. So Councilor
Motion
Austin,
for option 2.
seconder, Councilor Bomaka. Any further discussion? All in favor, carried. Thank you. Thank you. So if you'd like to come back up. Apologies.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jeremy Nickel, President of Nickel Brothers. I reside at 2593 Eagle Mountain Drive in Abbotsford, BC. Our company, Nickel Brothers, has been in the business of saving quality homes from demolition for 67 years and working with families looking for affordable and sustainable housing. We have rescued over 12,000 homes during our tenure in British Columbia and delivered them to locations throughout the Pacific Northwest from Alaska to Oregon. I'll get straight to the point. Mr. Fernandez's letter dated May 5th, 2023 to the Committee of the Whole is filled with misinformation, conjecture, and fear-mongering, and suggests that because past councils have rejected our attempts to seek positive, carbon-friendly change regarding quality affordable housing being moved into Lake Cowichan, that current council should also reject this environmentally sound, affordable housing option. This kind of thinking would propel us backwards in our battle against climate change. Point number 1, Mr. Fernandez uses work-safe regulations and hazardous materials to conjure up fear surrounding homes built pre-1990. But he well knows that all of the materials he refers to are only hazardous if made friable or airborne when being crushed, cut, or demolished. All homes our company delivers have air quality clearance tests performed and are accompanied with hazmat reports. In a January 2021 Housing Needs Assessment Data Report prepared by the CVRD regarding the town of Lake Cowichan, it states that 59% of all single-family dwellings in the town of Lake Cowichan were built prior to 1990. If in fact the pre-1990 homes are that unsafe, the town of Lake Cowichan should be declaring a health emergency. Point number 2, regarding relocated home affordability, Mr. Fernandez offers an irrational and inaccurate opinion based on conjecture and not on fact. Again, in your own Housing Needs Assessment Data Report, it states that the median household income is between $65,000 and $72,000. Yet it states that the average cost in Lake Cowichan of constructing a single-family dwelling has risen, and this is 2020, has risen to $648,000. This would require a household income, according to this report, of $126,000 based on a family income. How does Lake Cowichan intend to close this affordability gap? The average cost of a 1,400 square foot relocated home, fully set up from Nickel Brothers, is approximately 1/3 of this cost. Point number 3, the reasons offered by Mr. Fernandez for his opinion on affordability are that relocated buildings require significant upgrades. Again, this is simply untrue, and I do want to clear something up because there's some misunderstandings regarding the upgrading to current building codes. First of all, the National Research Council has determined that relocated buildings fall under Part 9 and not under Part 3 of the building code unless they're renovated more than 60%. And I believe that the building staff understands this, that any building renovated more than 60% does have to be brought up to new building code standards, or if there's a change of occupancy. In the case of a moved building, a residential building, it continues as a residence. There is no change of occupancy. Therefore, it is an existing residence. Again, this is simply untrue, the statements being made. We provide an engineer's reports on every moved building, certifying the safety of the building for occupancy while addressing snow load and other life safety issues. Again, the National Building Code makes it very clear a relocated building is under Part 9. Only life safety issues are to be addressed in a relocated building. In closing, I am asking that this council have the courage to do the right thing. Follow the lead of the National Research Council, the BC Ministry of Housing. One of the recommendations I'd like to make, I understand that you're going to discuss this further at the next committee of the whole meeting. I would recommend to wait 2 months, because over the next 2 months, the Minister of Housing, Minister Raby, will be making an announcement publicly in Coquitlam, where Nickel Brothers will be relocating an entire subdivision of homes, saving them. And he is endorsing the preservation and relocation of buildings. We need places to take these buildings to, folks. There is a crisis in our province regarding affordable housing. Over 3,000 buildings per year are being demolished. Good, healthy, structurally sound buildings. We have provided the opportunity and the means by providing clearance letters for these buildings, engineers' reports to override building inspections so that they don't need to require another building inspection unless they're upgraded more than 60%. So I just want to encourage council. Sometimes doing the same thing over and over produces the same result. And I love the statement that Albert Einstein said, any intelligent fool can make things bigger, more complex, and more fearful. It takes a touch of genius and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction. Thank you.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Councilors and Mayor. I believe I was the original.
Say your name and your
Oh,
address.
sorry, my name is Jim Connolly. I've been working with Nickel Brothers for some 30 years out of the city of Victoria. And I'm responsible for a lot of the building assessments as such that are moved up to these various areas. Just a couple of points of minor clarification. When we first approached the council, respectfully, the intent was to standardize the requirements as they are in all of the other core municipalities right up and down the island. The town of Lake Cowichan is most certainly an outlier. And we felt that this was based on some, a lack of good information. And we wanted to clarify that point. And secondly, we do have, people always looking for this alternative. I almost broke out in song. I was going to sing, oh Lord, give me a Mercedes Benz, but I'm going to spare you my voice. But now it would have to be an electric car. And what we're seeing a lot, and particularly us on the front field, I've been working with Sabina Travers for over a year to find her an appropriate building, not just structurally very sound, but the layout is perfect for her business opportunity as well. And these are really great buildings. When I'm looking at the surrounding hills, I'm thinking a lot of the wood from those buildings probably came from a town like Lake Cowichan, which prides itself on workers. And where are workers supposed to live? You have the Whistler phenomenon. You have you have these locations everywhere now where people that come to work cannot find rentals. They cannot find homes. We hear their voices constantly. And again, I would feel myself very proud to have a neighbor like that in our neighborhood, which is why we're fighting so hard for her and will continue to do so. Thank you for your time. Again, pleasure.
Oh, no.
Could you, before I start,
You just have to give your name and
my name
address.
is Neil Merrick. Before I start, could you please just review the minutes on the Sabasset First Nations application for a grant?
The application for the grant was for economic development.
Correct. And to what sum?
They requested $5,000 through unit track.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clear before I start. Anyway, I'm Neil Merritt. Wish I could speak as well as you do, but I'll find my best here.
Could you give your address? Sorry, we just need your.
Okay, I'm in area I, I'm not in the village. Okay, Indian Road. I'm sure that will change soon. Anyway, when you read of this, instantly, I'm opposed to that. We've watched the Sabasset First Nation in the last several years. And the size of their developments. They started to have their marina. They had about a 400-foot private beach. They have the North Shore State. They have a storage area that was development. And they started a rock quarries. This kind of development must cost millions and millions and millions of dollars. It has to. This is big potatoes. Okay, so my question is, why would the Sabasset First Nation come from their community into your community and ask for $5,000 tax money after they're handed millions of dollars? So to me, it just struck a sour note. So the Sabasset First Nations have a new employee. This individual knows where the grant money is. At all levels of government. So obviously, he knows that the town, Lake Cowichan, has these grants and needs, I believe it's all of them, I'm not sure, and has applied. So if it was up to me, I would challenge everybody in this room. Keep that $5,000 of your tax money. And I challenge you to go down to the senior center one day this week and have a soup and sandwich for lunch. And talk to those seniors who probably worked with their hands on their back and made this community grow. And see what they need. What could they use? Maybe they don't need anything. Maybe you treat them to something. What about minor hockey? Let's say you threw $1,000 to the Minor Hockey Association. So when their executive recognizes a family that's struggling or falling on hard luck, and they don't think their child can play hockey this year because of registration and they can't afford new skates, that's where that part of that $5,000 of your tax money should go. Little League. What's wrong with throwing $1,000 to Little League and getting an umpire school or a clinic on a Saturday? You see all our young kids out there learning how to umpire the young kids. That's where your tax dollars should be going. And you do have a homeless issue in Lake Cowichan. There are hungry people in Lake Cowichan. That's where some of this money should be going to. Not to the Sabasset First Nations who are handling millions of dollars in their developments. You have to support your own community first. You've got to be compassionate with these issues. It's your tax dollars that should stay in your community. Respect your own people. Would you go to another community and ask for money? Probably. So Sabasset First Nations are coming from their community to yours. I find it arrogant that they have the nerve to come and even ask, even to get into the application process. And it's quite distasteful, to tell you the truth. And it's my belief, my family's belief, and my neighbors' belief, everything else that's going on, that I'm asking you to address. And those four things that I mentioned, there's way more. I mean, I mentioned hockey and the homeless and the senior centers. There's so much more, but I just find it distasteful and arrogant, and it's just not right that not even people from your community are coming here to take tax dollars away from your own people. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Were there any questions through the email, Mr. Fernandez?
Yeah.
I apologize.
Not a problem. We do. I got.
Your name and address?
My name is Bill Garrett. I'm at 220 Lake Park Road. My question comes back to the supposed water leak. Now, in looking at correspondence and even in the notes of the minutes tonight, I see that the homeowner resolved the water leak by shutting off a manual valve. I'm not aware that shutting off a manual valve constitutes a water leak, in that how did the manual valve get opened in the first place? And that's my question.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Mr. Fernandez, any?
I don't
emails?
know.
No, any emails?
Oh, sorry.
So, motion to adjourn. For Austin. Mayor McGonigal, all in favor? You, Carrie? We need a new table.
Thank you all for
That's what we did.
joining tonight.
Thank you.
Most
Hearing